Supporters of the New Patriotic Party defied a downpour on Sunday to attend the last open campaign of the party ahead of the by-election on Tuesday. President Akufo-Addo told party sympathizers he had no hand in the prosecution of the embattled Jachikwesin. Flanked by New Patriotic Party's parliamentary candidate for Assin North, Charles Opoku, and some national executives of the party, he quizzed the difference between the prosecution of ex-member of parliament for Boko Central, Adam Sakandi, who was prosecuted and convicted for a similar offense, and that of Mr. Jachikwesin.
I say MPP for me, you can see Rano. I get any Rano. Ghana, Mla, and a Rano. I am in a Mababa Rano. Ghana, and Mla, and a Rano. I am in a Rano. Maybe we will be our Ghana. I send the two, I am in another Mla, and an old. Yan Panis, I say, who are being to because of whole way and say, you have to be me, 6.5 years anymore. And not true, not true.
President Akufo-Addo appealed to the constituents of Assin North not to make a mistake by voting for someone who could end up in jail to delay development in the area. But in a swift response, former President John Dramani Mahama insisted President Akufo-Addo erred in comparing the Adamu Sakandi story to that of James Jachikwesin. He told party supporters at Assin India the embattled Mr. Kwesin would not be convicted since he did not flout the laws on dual citizenship.
Sakande dear, any Jachikwesin dear, Sakande for prison because for the intro or the passport this year. Jachikwesin, one passport this year. It is some of Mokase, Jachikwesin back prison, Jachikwesin back prison. Mijna Akacham said, Nada, all prison and all prison and China.
From Assin North for JoyNews, Wahime reporting.
Well, that is the situation in the central region, Assin North to be specific. Both parties, the NDC and the MPP, have been campaigning hard. And you notice that in the last round of campaigning, the leaders of both parties, so to speak, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, president and leader of the MPP, as we can say for now, and John Dramani Mahama, former president and also flag bearer of the NDC. Both of them doing their best, throwing their shots in these dying embers of the contest. We know the contest is slated for tomorrow, and that is when the cookie will crumble, and we'll see things falling into their proper places. Is it going to be Charles Opoku of the MPP who wins, or is it going to be a reinstatement of James Jachikwesin, who at a point was relieved of his duties by the court? Well, joining us for these conversations this morning, we have joining us via Zoom Dr. John Osai Kwapong. He is a CDD fellow. He joins the conversation. We also have in the studio Dr. Tutu Boahen. He's a political marketing lecturer at the University of Education, whatever. Both of them will join us as we judge on these matters, but we'll intersperse the conversation with thoughts from our correspondents on the ground, and we'll also be speaking to some members of the two political parties to find out what their plans and the expectations are ahead of tomorrow. But let me start with Dr. Osai Kwapong, who joins the conversation via Zoom. Doc, when you look at the proceedings so far, as far as this by-election is concerned, generally, what do you make of how far we have come?
Well, good morning. It looks like I was saying yesterday to a friend that both parties have pulled in their big guns for this battle, figuratively speaking. To think that the president has been there to campaign for the MPP candidate, and former President John Mahama has also been there a few times and is there now to campaign for the NDC candidate. My initial observation is it's interesting how the campaign is being framed. If my reading is correct, on the part of the NDC, the by-election is seen as making right a wrong and an injustice that they feel has been done to the party, which is the expulsion of Mr. James Jachikwesin from Parliament, right? So in a lot of their framing of their campaign messages, you see, that theme that regularly comes through their messages that, look, this is a case of a miscarriage of justice, and it needs to be corrected, and you need to elect him again to make sure that justice is done and justice is served. When you listen to the MPP rhetoric, directly and indirectly, they seem to also be hinting at the fact that, look, this is a person who hasn't served you well, who wasn't honest to his constituency, and that certain misfortunes would befall him. I found it a little surprising that the president actually would wade in on that same rhetoric as well. But they also seem to be phrasing it as certain unfortunate things will befall him. And you don't want that disruption.
Which is somewhat prejudicial to the case in court, isn't it? Precisely,
very prejudicial to the criminal case in court. And so it's, on the one hand, it's do this, elect him so that justice is served. And then on the other hand, it's be careful, something untoward, something bad might happen to him, which will be disruptive to the development process and fortunes of the people of Assin, and therefore don't. And
on that very point, on that very point, curiously, because Mr. President, and we have the visuals, says that, look, some are saying, in fact, the former member of Parliament, James Jachikwesin, has suggested that there are arms in government, that I am sort of influencing the judiciary to do what it is doing against him. That is what he says in one breath. And then he says that is not so. It is merely the same scenario as Adamu Sakande. That is in one breath. But then in another breath, he says what you just alluded to, that don't vote for him because the courts are going to convict him on this matter, so to speak, without saying so many words, and that it will be a waste of your vote. So looking at the two things he says, what do you make of it?
Yeah, and I think that's a little disconcerting, right? That one, to distance yourself from the charges that there is some political influence on the judiciary, because nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to live in a democratic dispensation where the judiciary is not perceived to be independent. So it's good to have clarified that, look, I have no hand in this. This is the law trying to take its course. But like you said, in the same breath, when you end up also then saying this is what might happen to him, or this is what would happen to him, I think that, like you said, is very prejudicial. And for me, I wish His Excellency would have just ended at, I have nothing to do with this, it's simply a matter of law.
Thank you for those initial comments. Let me now bring in Dr. Tutu Boahen here in the studio. Doc, welcome on the AM show. What do you make of what the happenings so far as Assin North's by-election is concerned?
My greetings to Dr. Sai and our viewers. Basically, you expect some of these things to be happening, especially when it comes to a direct contest between the NDC and the MPP. And over the weekend, we realized that the two people who matter in the NDC and MPP camp were all at the Assin North, right? Trying to campaign for their candidates. And it's quite unfortunate, from a communication perspective, the kind of communication that these two leaders have put up.
All right, Doc, we have to do something very quickly, so just bear with me. We will come right back to you. Dr. Osai Kwapong, so just to continue, in terms of getting into some specifics, okay? We've heard the rhetoric from both sides. When you listen to what the MPP has said thus far, I'm sure you've followed, and what the NDC has also been saying in campaigning, and we've seen, for example, that members of parliament from both sides have been on the ground. We have seen, like you said, the president and the former president all campaigning for their sides. What have you picked from the rhetoric they've been, spewing out there? How would you assess that?
So, you can tell that this seat is very important to both parties. The determination to win this seat is so clear. If you look at how much time, energy, everything that is going into trying to capture this seat, none of the parties are leaving any stone unturned. But as I was saying, previously in my earlier comments, when you assess the rhetoric, I would have wished that, and maybe there was no way that this case, both the court's ruling and the impending criminal trial, perhaps there was no way that this couldn't have taken center stage in this by-election. But I find it a little troubling that seems to have taken, center stage with all manner of comments, being made, which for me, I think is very unfortunate to what is also going to happen, because nobody knows what the courts are going to do. You cannot say with certainty what the outcome is going to be. Even if you have some idea or you even want to speculate, I think it doesn't, it's not healthy to the judicial process, especially with everything that the judiciary has come to be perceived as lately. You don't want to give one more ammunition to the critics and the concerned voices who are beginning to wonder how independent the judiciary is by throwing in these sort of comments. But if you look at the rhetoric, that is what this election has become about, which is the case against Mr. James Kwesi, and whether it's a legitimate case or not.
All right. Let me also just acknowledge Mr. Mustafa Bande of the NDCs, and I'll be welcoming you aboard to deliver your thoughts shortly. Mr. Bande, just stay with us. Let me come back into the studio for your initial reactions quickly on that. And what do you think again about what Mr. President said and what the consequences could be in terms of the court processes? Quick thoughts?
So as I was saying, from a communication perspective, I believe that the two messages that were put there, it's not good for either of the two candidates in there. And I want to believe that what the president said, is a total switch from a statesmanship, to a partisan position. Statesmanship in the sense that at a point in time, you are distancing yourself and suggesting to your audience that you are being neutral with regards to the court actions and all that. then at a point in time, you are also given a verdict indicating that even if the people vote for, him, he's going to be sentenced. And to me, that is not too good and too pleasant. What I gather from Assin North is that now the youth, particularly, are seeing the actions of the court and the communications from the party more or less as a deliberate attempt, to put Jachikwesin, behind bars, and that the people are now claiming, especially the youth, that they would vote for him no matter the consequences. So they would know that this is what we did and this has been the consequence. And to me, it wouldn't be good, for the country. Number one, it wouldn't be good for the MPP's, attempt, to get, the seat for the party. I think that the NPP should have, focused on their mandate, and their objective of winning the seat, rather than, bringing in these court issues and all that as the basis for their campaign. That suggests to the people that it is a deliberate attempt, to just give the dog a bad name and then probably hang it. And to them, it doesn't sit well with them. So that is my initial thought, and I think that the right thing should be done. Probably it may be too late, but they have some hours to get things done right.
And you can see in your shot there work that is ongoing, at least the roads there, some of which have been, some work has been done on, all on the back of the by-election. But let me bring into the conversation two stalwarts of the different sides. Mustafa Gbande is a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. We also have Henry Nanabwache, who is National Organizer of the NPP. Since Mustafa Gbande joined first, I'm just going to start with him. But a very good morning to you, Nanabi. Henry?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's really good to have you. It's been a while.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right. Let me start with Mustafa. So for you, you've been there, you've done that, you've been on the ground. What is your reaction to happenings in Assin North? Your party has said that influence peddling is going on, that money is exchanging hands. The Daily Graphic this morning reports that some of those that paper spoke to said they would take the money given them, but they would vote otherwise. There are those who have also said that, well, money will influence them. What is your reaction to all of this?
Thank you very much, and good morning to my senior intellectuals and then my colleague Nanabi. My first reaction is that this campaign has been very peaceful, very clean, until we had His Excellency the President come in. And we're still trying to juggle our minds as to whether we listen to the President, who is a lawyer himself, and as to whether he was speaking in connection with issues in the courts, and whether the President clearly understands the extent to which his comments have damaged the judiciary, and further confirmed our suspicion that he is doing everything possible to compromise the independence of the judiciary, as well as stocking the judiciary with somewhat MPP faithfuls. And I think we should be worried as a country beyond the by-election if your president can assume such a preposterous position, a non-statesmanship, such a position that has a tendency to jeopardize our democracy. if you put weight on the quality of judiciary we ought to have as a country and what we have now. Beyond that, what is more disturbing is that the MPP doesn't have a message, and all that they seek to engage in is vote buying. But the question we ask is, how long can we sustain this new paradigm being introduced by Nana Addo as one of his legacies? Can we shade away development? Can we sacrifice growth? Can we sacrifice standard of living and begin to share money for the purposes of political expedience? That is how low Nana Addo has brought governance. That is how low the MPP has brought our country to.
Right.
And that for us in the NDC, we believe that beyond the issues in court, and we also know that Jachikwesin is a very honorable person. He is not a criminal. In the eyes of the law as we stand today, nothing forbids him from being a member of parliament. And that the people of, if we get a transparent, credible, free and fair election, the NDC should be able to retain Honorable Jachikwesin in good faith. What is more scary is that because our opponents know that they have lost the grounds, what they are seeking to do is to compromise the security of the election. We are only hoping that the IGP will make use of professionalism and take full control of this election.
Right.
Because the NDC is coming from a bleeding position of our past experience as far as by-elections are concerned. And we are guided that the past will not repeat itself.
Okay.
We will not stand and to accept any form of intimidation, any form of what is not legal, any form of acts that are affront to our elections process.
Okay.
We want a transparent election. We want a credible election. We want to see the NDC and the MPP go out of Assin North very friendly, very peaceful, where the NDC goes home with a victory.
All right, just hold for me, Mustafa. I love the end of your submission. You want both parties to leave the election in a peaceful manner, still friendly manner, though it is politics. But let me bring in Henry Nanabuache. Two major concerns I have. The first one has to do with the fact that the rhetoric basically has been that, you know what, the member of parliament there, James Jachikwesin, was not serving your purpose in terms of development. We will bring development to Assin North if you vote for our candidate in the person of Charles Opoku. But the interesting bit is it not the DCEs and MCEs who really are the agents of development? How come the MPP has not been able to, so to speak, develop Assin North, and now they need an MP before they can do that? Just a quick thought. What is your take on that?
Oh, yeah. Before I just go on with some reactions on all that my brother Mustafa just said. This is a man who, in 2020, when he was campaigning, said that he was going to develop the entire Assin North with his own money. He stayed in Canada for 45 years. He has accumulated, some wealth, and that he is going to use his own money. He's not going to depend on MP's common fund. He's not going to depend on government. That is the more reason why there is that responsibility on him. There is that load on him to execute all that he said. So it is his campaign message he came with in 2020. But then, yes, it is always said that MPs are not agents for development. That is what we find in the law. But clearly, because most of these projects are budgeted for, and these budgets also appear before Parliament, they must go to Parliament, the Parliament must go through it thoroughly, and then they will pass budget. So it is also the belief that once the budget that will guide the implementation in terms of finances, implementation of these projects would go through the House, then you would have some lobbying power to also lobby some projects for your constituents. So generally, yes, MPs are not agents for development, but because people are also of the notion, and sometimes it also comes from us, the MPs and politicians, oh, I'm going to lobby for this, we are going to do this. So when you finish, then there is that burden on you to all. So that would be a response to just the initial question you just asked. But I've heard Mustafa attacking the Electoral Commission already. I've heard Mustafa attacking the police already. I've heard Mustafa attacking.
What he said was that they should live up to expectation. Is there anything wrong with that?
This is the first time. They said that they have, in fact, for...
Well, I'm just saying that on this platform...
His national chairman on one network I just spoke on mentioned that they have some signals that EC will be delaying some electionary material.
Henry, since we cannot corroborate that, can we just restrict ourselves to what is said here?
Oh, but why are you doing this? The man just said so many things. Well, are you able to collaborate that? Mustafa is on your platform. He made allegations that people are sharing money. Are you able to substantiate that?
Actually, Henry Nanabuachi,
so, no, I'm coming, hold on.
I'm able to do that.
I'm coming, hold on. So if
we have a video with evidence. So if you're asking, I'm saying is that what you're saying,
evidence?
Henry Nanabuachi, let's have a conversation. I am saying that what you are suggesting that may have happened on another platform, we are not privy to that.
What I'm trying to say is that do you also all the things that my brother just said? No, I'm coming. If you do so, you are not being fair to me. You have called me for an interview. Hold on. I've said that I've appeared on one network and I've heard. So the fact that you cannot substantiate does not mean that I cannot speak to it. What level of, and then what angle of question is this? He said so many things on your platform. He's not able to provide even a scintilla of evidence. And you're allowing to go. I'm telling you that I appeared on one platform.
So this morning he said the whole lot that you are talking about. What exactly did he say this morning?
Exactly. So you move on. So you don't say that because I'm unable to provide evidence, I should, but when he is able to just go with
Nanabuachi, go ahead.
Evidence. Yes, his national chairman said that they have evidence that the Electoral Commission is planning to aid the MPP and that ballot materials and electionary materials will not be conveyed to some areas on time for the processes to begin. Right, and that appears to be the language. And then Mustafa also just said that it appears that we are going to lose, and for that matter, we are relying on the EC and then the security agency. So now he's going to caution the IGP to exhibit professionalism. These were his words just on your platform. And I think that penchant from the NDC, always trying to bastardize this institution, is quite unfair. Look, in Kumawu, they started these same accusations, but the EC lived up to expectation, even beyond expectation. They did so well. And the security agencies, especially the police service, they also exhibited maximum professionalism in Kumawu, and they did so well. Today, as I speak, we are meeting them at 11 a.m. And it is my belief that so far, I mean, we've had quite some decent campaigning atmosphere in Assin North. And I can allude to that. And I believe that because the NDC has not really come out to say anything different from what I'm saying. So I believe that from how they've started, I mean, they've done quite some good policing in Assin North.
Right.
So I believe that they are going to leave. But this attitude of always bastardizing state institutions. And then again, he said that Nana Danko Akufo-Addo has appointed some MPP faithfuls into the judiciary, and that is worrying. And again, I was surprised how you could not come in to tell him that what is the evidence. He said it boldly on your platform. Look, we have had some Supreme Court judges appointed by the former President Mahama. Is it fair to say that because constitutionally the President has a mandate to appoint these Supreme Court justices and the President exercises his mandate with that same power and in that same authority? For that matter, for the MPP, we need to say that the judiciary is biased and tinted with political action. It is so unfair, and it is not coming from the inspiration is given by his own flag bearer, former President Mahama. And for me, he's supposed to know better. I find such comments very reckless.
Why I wouldn't even go into that is the point that these Supreme Court justices are not barred from having a political opinion. They vote. And so I didn't even deem it a point to get into. But you go ahead.
No.
Because on both sides, then we could play that game.
If you go into their code of conduct, if you go into how they are supposed to be appointed, yes, although it can be appointed by a particular person who was sponsored by a political party, but they are supposed to exhibit extreme professionalism. They are supposed to exhibit and make sure that the decision they come out with is devoid of any partisan color.
Henry, that is beside the point I'm making. I'm saying that they are not barred.
So that is what I'm trying to say, that if you have a political party always saying it, now they even gave them a name, Unanimous FC, to the point that you recall that recently Mr. Pesawite was dragged to the Supreme Court for some of these unsavory comments he's been making, and it's been their style. Look, under former President Mahama, you appointed an Attorney General who prosecuted Mr. Adamu Dramani Sakande, who was an MP in Boko Central. And we did not make some of these statements. Right? So you are out of power now. There is another president, there's another Attorney General, and similar charges slapped on your person. And then you mount a platform, and because of this, you bastardize the court, forgetting that you have been president before, and under your watch, it was an Attorney General appointed by you who prosecuted this person. He went to jail for 2 years. You have forgotten all of these things.
Right. So I think the point there has been clearly made. I just have a question. Do you have access to a television where you are? Or are you watching this live?
Please, I'm actually moving. We are still in Mecca. We have a meeting. I told you we have a meeting with the police. So I'm in the car now. Right.
I would have showed you on the bit about influence peddling, because that has also come to the fore in the conversation in Assin North. And there is a portion where you would see the Ashanti Regional Chairman of your party, Chairman Wuntumi, forking out money out of his batakari and giving it out to some of those in attendance at one of your rallies. It's been claimed that those are the activities that have been going on to buy the conscience of voters. How do you react to that?
I met,
and it's on video, by the way. It was captured.
I met the National Communications Officer in a village called Simpa. They gave them 2,000 Ghana cedis. They gave the woman 2,000 Ghana cedis. When you go there, because people had come from some places, you give transportation. They give me money. Mustafa Bande, he's been giving money. He's been giving money.
Do two wrongs make a right? Is that what you're saying?
No, it is not. No, it is not meant to influence anybody. It is not meant to do so. For instance, if you go to a chief, it is customary. If you go to a chief and you have a package for the chief, you are saying that this is supposed to bribe the chief. It is customary. Look, when you have a crew from multimedia, and if you want to visit any chief, if you go and maybe you are having a program and you go there, are you going to go empty-handed? I don't think so.
But in this instance, where you are talking of politics, where we've been talking about the influence of money and everything like that, I mean, it's at a political party rally, but you cannot say that everybody there is affiliated to the party. So what then does that mean? Where then do we draw the line? If we want to create all of these exigencies and say, in this instance we can give out, in this instance we're doing this.
I have not seen the video, but I don't see anything wrong with it, that you meet a group of persons and then you want to give them a gift. It is not as if that he gave the money to them around the ballot box, while people are in the queue.
But that is criminal. No one would even dare do that.
Exactly. So that is why I'm trying to say that.
No, but I'm saying it's an impossibility to.
So if that is criminal, then this is not criminal. So he has not breached the law, and that is why I'm saying that if you go to a group of persons and a group of people, and then they are there, they are young people, they are youth, they are vibrant. I met a group of young guys who were going to train in early morning yesterday. They were going to train, and then I said, "Oh no, have this for your breakfast." I did so. But is that supposed to be vote buying? I don't think so. You cannot buy. Look, and in Assin North here, I must credit the traditional leaders here with that level of respect and that level of patriotism for their people. Everywhere we went, they never asked for monetary assistance. All they asked for was either they wanted the support to complete their background, either they want support for their farming input, either they want, everything was developmental in nature. The orientation was entirely different. So I'll be surprised if anybody, especially the NDC, would want to insult the intelligence of the people in Assin North by saying that these people are people you can just give them money and just have their being manipulated. I don't think so. That would be an insult. I've been here for 3 weeks, almost a month, and I don't see this. These are people who are very honest. These are people who want something better for their people. And then again, I also heard you say that you have also seen some projects going on, and in your view, you think that it's because of the by-election. Again, I find this.
Please let me just make this clear. We have been on the ground, and there are projects that claims have been made about in terms of there being, if you will allow me, I will tell you, in terms of there being brought back into action, for example, a contractor coming back on a specific road because of the by-election. And if you look at the timelines, you would have to corroborate that. What is wrong with that?
In fact, most of these projects you are talking about, they're almost about 80% complete. They've constructed the drains, they finished with the gutters. What was left for them to do the filling, the sealing, and then with the asphalt. So you cannot construct a road in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. You start from somewhere. Even the preparatory works alone takes a lot of time. So all of these projects you are talking about is within the space of about 3 years. So, and indeed, I've also heard even the chief of Assin Breku saying that if anybody says that, oh, the NPP are executing this project because of violence, it is not true. The video is there.
Okay.
It's gone viral.
So just to cap off the conversation with you, because I know you are actually in a hurry. So just to cap off the conversation with you before we go on the ground and speak to some of our correspondents. The Daily Graphic today on the allegations of vote buying, they interacted with some people. One of them says, for example, we know whom to vote for. Let them do what they want to do, but we know what is good for us. Another says, we have heard that some things are being shared, but those sharing the things are giving them to the people they know. We also will do what we have to do. I don't know how you react to that, but just to cap off the conversation. Tomorrow, is Charles Opoku going to be able to carry the day? The last time in Assin North, and that is a swing constituency, by the way, you lost with a margin of just about 3,000. Has the MPP done enough to take that seat? And what are your predictions?
Well, yeah, we've done a lot. First of all, we campaigned on the numerous projects we've done in the constituency, and the people are very, very happy about it. If you put together all the interventions, the infrastructure interventions in the constituency, we are talking about close to about 120 projects. From Friday, we've seen the Vice President commissioning the 32-kilometer road right from Assin Praso to Assin Fusu. There's also another road completed, that is the Kushian Road. We have the Breku Road. In fact, but for the heavy rain, we've had torrential rain for the past 4 days. But for the heavy rains, the town road in Breku and then that of Akonfede would have been asphalted, right? We've had Agenda 111, the hospital coming up is almost about 70% complete. It's got into the roofing stage. We commissioned the AstroTurf there. We have a lot of chip compounds, the actionable and chip compounds, we commissioned it. So we campaigned largely on the many infrastructure interventions we've executed in the constituency. Then secondly, we also campaigned on the strength of the candidate. The candidate is extremely popular. This is somebody who is philanthropic in nature. He's been able to train thousands of young persons in different workforce. He has a foundation, and that foundation has been working in Assin North for years. And that foundation, as I speak now, is either renewed NHIS cards or even facilitated new ones for many people, 8,125. He's done it free of charge from his own pocket. This is somebody who sacrificed his own building, his own house, for the operational and functional activities of the Assin North district when it was first created. This is somebody who has been helping with the payment of school fees. He has this scheme that gives out loans to market women, soft loans, interest-free. And he's been doing this for years. So he's extremely popular. Look, we've been campaigning for just about 10 days. But I can tell you that he is popular more than even Quayson. Because you know what, for Quayson, he doesn't understand why he should be helping people. He stayed in abroad for 45 years. He doesn't have much of a connection in the constituency. His own people, 2012, 2016, 2020, they rejected him. Then he went to Accra to tell Stephen Ketia that he has his documentations now fully ready and everything, and then they brought him back. So for us, for this Charles Opoku, he is from Assin Breku. His mother is from Assin Breku. He's schooled, his basic school, Assin Breku. He went to Asampanaye, which is also in Asampanaye. The SHS is in Asampanaye. So he's been in the constituency all this while. He's just about 40 years. So if you compare him to somebody who stayed abroad for 45 years, and he wants to use the MP as a dessert, people are not going to go for that. So we are very, very confident. I can boldly declare to you that the MPP, we've waged an effective campaign, and we are going to win the seat. We are going to snatch the seat from the NDC.
All right.
And they know. But the fact is that they should not start this name-calling, bastardizing institutions, and trying to give a dog a bad name and then hang it because of what? Because you are going to lose the election tomorrow. Point made. For the lose, they will lose the election tomorrow.
All right. Nanabi, thank you so much. We have to go on the ground. We're grateful that you took the time to talk to us. Henry Nana Boakye is national organizer of the New Patriotic Party. Let's go now on the ground and get a feel of what exactly is happening right there. We have Richard Kwejunyako, my colleague, who is in Assin Breku. Richard, if you can hear me, what is Assin Breku looking like this morning in terms of anticipation of voting tomorrow?
Well, so Ben, thank you very much. So this is the election eve, the by-election eve, and we are here at Assin Breku, and the place is unusually busy. You know, this is a farming constituency. What they do, grow rice, grow cocoa, grow palm, and all of that. But today, it appears that all of them didn't go to farm. For the past 2 weeks, it's been raining consistently in this constituency, and today the sun is up in the sky and the place is looking lively. Behind us are an army of supporters from both political parties, the MPP and the NDC. Yesterday we had huge rallies from both camps. The President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice, Chief of Staff, other Ministers of State, Members of Parliament, and other party bigwigs were here. They held a rally just at my right-hand side, and the President has been speaking. He says that he is not responsible for the predicament of George Quayson. Neither is it a political stunt they are pulling to ensure that they take the seat away from him. But he should remember, and the entire NDC should remember, that same fate happened to Ademu Dramani Sakandi, and he went that way. And so from where he stands, it is the same way that George Achikwesin is also following. We've also been following the campaigns of the NDC, and yesterday, as at midnight, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, was on the ground, moving from one community to the other, spreading his message. And it's been very, very interesting. I'll bring my colleague in, Ohime Teria, who has been on the ground with me. Ohime, so we've been here for about 48 hours on this ground. What have you seen? What have the people been telling you?
Kojo, if you listen to the people of Assin North constituency, they have made up their mind. Those who want to vote for any political party or candidate has made up his mind and will be casting the ballot tomorrow. They say nothing will make them change their decision or their mind to vote for their preferred candidate. As you said, this is a farming community, and you should know that because elections are happening on Tuesday, you are likely to see people go to their farms, especially those in the hinterlands. There are communities that are not along the main Kumasi Cape Coast road. These communities, residents who want to go to farm and then come back to cast their ballots. But when I interacted with them, I don't see that they want to go to farm and then come back to cast their ballots. The indication is that they want to stay in their communities and cast their ballots so that their votes can be counted. They can be part of history. And so residents and electors in this constituency are determined to participate in tomorrow's by-election. And I know that at 11 a.m., the Electoral Commission will also be meeting the political party representatives to discuss the elections and what may be happening to them. So for me, I will say that yes, all is set for tomorrow, and the electors themselves, they are the key players in the elections. They are ready to cast their ballot tomorrow.
So you've been listening to the conversations that are happening in the constituency. Let's start from the camp of Charles Opoku. What have people been telling you based on which they would want to vote for him?
For Charles Opoku, they say he's been the man on the ground right from day one, even though he was nobody, he had no political intention, he had no political ambition to contest whatsoever. Immediately he had his masters in the United States of America. He came down here to support the residents. So from his meager resources, he's been able to provide borehole to residents in areas that water is a scarce commodity, scarce resource. And so they know him as somebody who is very, very, very good at giving. And so they want to appreciate whatever he has given them by also, voting for him tomorrow. There are others who also believe that, yes, for Achikwesin, he's been around with them, even though, as we said earlier, he has his own issues, but he has not allowed the issues to eat into his activities in the community. He's been reaching out to electors in the community in his own small way. So they believe that yes, come what may be, they will have the opportunity to cast their ballot tomorrow, and that their decision to vote for the candidates is based on the fact that they have received or perhaps enjoyed something from these candidates, and they believe that continue voting for them will also mean that the goodies they have receiving from them will continue to come. So that is what is perhaps influencing the decision to vote for a candidate tomorrow.
Okay, so I'll come back and ask you about George Achikwesin and what people are saying about them, but let's engage our audience here. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell me, do you vote in this constituency? Do you come from here?
I am not from here.
So you are here basically to do what?
Exactly. I'm an NDC executive from my constituency, and I just came to assist my people. Almost all party functionaries of the two political parties have been around, and I'm part of those who came in favor of the National Democratic Congress.
So essentially, what role are you playing? Do you see your candidates winning?
I assist my constituency executives around to be able to win the elections, and so what I can say is that we are just offering some kind of assistance, political assistance to them in the campaigning so that we can win this seat back to our party.
If you were to vote in this constituency, who I don't even need to ask, you'll be voting for George Achikwesin, right?
Actually, whatever people have been hearing outside the constituency is not correct. In terms of genuine love for the candidates, Achikwesin tops all. Only that some of the party members of the National Democratic Congress are afraid the elections will be rigged. And so they are national.
What is informing this fear?
The fear is that we witnessed one at Ayawaso West.
Constituency. That is a different constituency.
It is not a different constituency. We are dealing with the same electoral commission that actually brought 3 different results as a declaration of the 2020 elections. And so we cannot have so much confidence in the electoral commission.
So you are not, as we speak, you are not so confident that Jachi Kwesin will carry the day?
Jachi Kwesin has been chosen already. It's just that the voting ought to be done. But let me tell you, we have also put in certain mechanisms to check anything like rigging. And so in this case, I would say that whoever tells you that this election is going to be a 50-50 race is not telling you the truth. It's not true. What I'm saying is that the NDC will have to check. In fact, their tactics for the free and fair election must be proper and strong. If that happens, there's no way Charles Opoku can come near to Honorable Jachi Kwesin. He can never come near.
I'll come to you again.
He will
Let
come
me
near.
speak with one of the people that are here. So tell me, do you vote in this constituency?
Yes, please.
So who are you voting for?
I'm voting for Charles Opoku.
Right. So tell me, what has Charles done for you to vote for him?
A simple analysis that we are doing. We are going to compare Charles Opoku as against James Jachi Kwesin. Right? For the first time you had our district, there's a certain man who gave the district accommodation, who is Charles Opoku. By then, wasn't a candidate. Secondly, you can see that
nursing an ambition to contest?
No, please, because the district was created in 2018, of which he was working at Takwa Mines. But because of his charity works, he had a foundation in the name of the mother, which is Akosua Baku Foundation, of which he was using those foundations to support the needy and brilliant students within the constituency. Right? Fast forward, going to 2020, Honorable James Jachi Kwesin became the MP for the constituency. He had opportunity laying hands on common fund and other source of fund which enables him to work. Charles never took a dime from the assembly.
But many will say that Jachi Kwesin has been involved in legal issues for which reason he was not fully concentrating. But even with that, he was also even doing something for the constituency.
They should just pinpoint a single project within 2.5 years he started and completed.
Some will say that his woes started as soon as he was elected to become the member of parliament.
Someone who is battling in court was able to access his common fund closer to 300,000 Ghana cedis.
But many are pointing to the light that you currently enjoy here at Simbreku, that he was instrumental in doing that.
May I have been assembly member for 12 good years over here, presiding member for 8 good years. Every single project within the constituency, I can pinpoint to you what we started and that's we have completed. I can boast of the government hospital here in Breku. It's at the roofing stage. They were pointing fingers on the disassembly building. That's never true. We started a new one just closer to the cemetery. It's been completed and finished.
Now the MPP, the NDC is pointing fingers at you that you are intimidating them, and they sense that you may rig the election.
Nobody is going to rig the election over here. We know ourselves. This is a close community, and I can easily identify every household and those living in that household. If you come to my electorate, that's by electorate. I can take you there, move to each and every house. I will tell you who is an NDC person and who is an MPP person within my electorate area. So nobody from somewhere or from Dansame Press will come to Breku in voting. There's not like rigging election over here. We had our issues in 2020 and it brought crack to the party, it brought division. And as I speak, we are united.
Okay, so thank you very much. Let me shift to this gentleman here. I know you are definitely NDC. Are you one?
Yes, please.
Or you are just wearing the shirt?
No, I am a proud member of the National Democratic
Congress. Do you
Congress.
vote here?
I don't vote here.
So what are you doing here?
Okay, so before I answer that question, let me start with this. Once upon a time, there lived a great man named Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, and I quote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere."
So what kind of injustice are you talking about here?
So if injustice is being perpetrated in Assin North, and I sit in Accra, in my comfort zone, watching injustice being perpetrated, then it means I am in support of the injustice that is being perpetrated by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Jane Mensah here in Assin North.
So you are here to tell me the kind of injustice that is currently going here?
Yes, the injustice going on here is because the wonderful people of Assin North elected a member of parliament. He was sent to parliament to perform his duties as he was elected to do. Here lies the case that a group of people led by President Akufo-Addo is frustrating this man and using the judiciary, and today there is a by-election in Assin North.
You don't have evidence of that fact because it's the Supreme Court, the apex court of our land.
Let's not forget that yesterday President Akufo-Addo said here categorically, asking the people of Assin North that would they be happy to vote for someone who will be sent to jail? How did he know he will be sent to jail? Is the case predetermined? Is he aware already what the outcome
I think that you are taking the president out of context, because I also did listen to the president where he said that based on what you are saying, so the president premised his statement on something, not that he's saying that they shouldn't vote for someone who will go to jail.
But clearly, that is per my understanding, that is what President Akufo-Addo was trying to tell the people. Me, I thought that was the question he was asking the people of Assin North, you understand? Which I feel clearly, you know, our MP from Jomoro, the same thing happened to her. She was also frustrated in a court like this with dual citizenship issue and all her view. But by the grace of God Almighty, today she is free.
So when it happened like that, did you blame the president for making him her win that case?
No, you see, we don't blame.
There are two set of cases.
Yes.
One, the candidate won. One, the candidate lost.
Yes.
Why are you blaming the president and the government for the candidate that lost?
You see, the reason why the focus here at Assin North is because they feel they have a chance in taking the seat. If it was Jomoro, they know definitely they cannot take. You and I know Assin North has been for them for some time until we took the seat. That is why they feel that, no, let's give it a try again this time around and it might succeed.
Okay, so let me go to this young woman here. Hello, so my very final person to speak here. So, now, Etwabawa.
Pachodabi.
Na Etwabawa.
Ejumako enyana esiam.
Ejumako.
Enyana esiam.
Na ntisisi na hana ye dena kasa wa.
Bai beboy. Honorable Jachi Kwesi.
Etwabawa de ebekada Jachi Kwesi why ye be na zepa na oza moma. Based on that na pede Etwaba ze ma Jachi Kwesi.
Oh, my hun wa han de by 4 years ya what all by Senya kota asam na nka papa no oyadepa na numpo no ode ne kotokum sika oda ye nyoma bebre ya yakofiefie a omoka light sam ne nyoma bebre nti etumi hu da sa papa no senya de bia kota sam na anka obetuma ayade bebre achen ne oyeye no nti asen ha no Baya 7 years ni MPP for 1 year she mahon.
Okay, so this young woman says that but for the court issues, Georgia Achikwesin would have done very well for them. I said this was my final person, but let me speak with this man. Do you vote here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do I need to ask you who you are voting for?
Yes, please.
Who are you voting for?
I'm voting for Charles Opoku.
So tell me, why will you vote for Charles Opoku?
I'll vote for Charles Opoku based on 3 things. Charles Opoku has been able to train more than 1,500 indigenous in Assin North in the apprenticeship and vocational training. I want to tell you something. When when he was coming, he promised us that he'll bring or you create jobs in Assin North. But that is not what we are seeing here. And then when my brother was speaking, he said that injustice. But it seems that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, justice is prevailing in this country. Please, are you listening to me? Honorable Joe Quesin came 2012, came 2016. He couldn't renounce his citizenship. He couldn't. So many, you don't even respect the people of Assin North. Please, are you getting me? So now, we voted for him, and then we are voting against him tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
Just
thank you very
lips.
much. Thank you very much. So he said that they voted for Georgia Achikwesin.
And that is Richard Kwejunako on the ground in Assin Breku. You heard the interactivity there. Do we still have Mustafa Gbande on the line? Mustafa, are you still with us? All right. I just wanted maybe a follow-up because I had spent so much time with Henry Nanabwachi. Dr. Kwapong, now you've seen the scenes there. You've heard the responses from both representatives of the party that we've interacted with this morning. What is your reflection on the aspect of influence peddling, and having listened to those people on the ground from the MPP and the NDC, what do you foresee happening tomorrow?
I think it's going to be an extremely competitive election. I spent some time looking at the trends in their constituency going all the way back in 1996. And when you look at from 2012, when Assin North was carved out, so that now we have the Assin North, Assin Central, and Assin South, you can see how close these elections are. I mean, 2012, NDC won by 2,000 votes. 2016, MPP won by 4,800 votes thereabout. 2020, NDC won by 3,000 votes. So you can tell that it's going to be an extremely competitive election. You can also tell that the messages that are being communicated from from both parties is actually also resonating with the voters, in the sense that you heard the person who said they would vote for the NDC candidate making references to injustice and the injustice that is being dealt to Mr. James Kwesi. And then for the MPP, the two people who said they would vote for Mr. Charles Opoku alluded to the things that he has done even before he had any ambitions of becoming an MP for the constituency. So I foresee an extremely competitive election. It will be very interesting to see which of these two competing narratives win at the end of the day when the election is done tomorrow.
Let me come into the studio before we cap off the conversation. Doc, for you, having seen the visuals that we put there, having listened to the interactivity, what is your take from what you saw on the ground?
So I think that I will agree with Dr. Assin with regards to the fact that it is going to be a close competition, looking at the statistics available. And what I am seeing is that with the support, of the youth behind the NDC, and the fact that when you pick information from the grounds, there appears to be some kind of a kind of protest, to the extent that people believe that Judge Kwesi is being hunted, and that is not good for their constituency. But then one thing that I will want to see is that, you see, with allegations concerning injustices, I don't want to believe that. But then it has to do with the strategies that the party would probably, or the two major political parties will put in place. With regards to the fact that election is about numbers and it is issues of numeracy. So whoever you put in charge of the party, regards to coalition and other stuff, should be somebody who understands figures and can do simple arithmetics and be able to know that this is my share, that was my percentage and stuff. If you don't do that and then you pick anybody at all to get in there, then of course, if you are suspecting injustices, it will be to your disadvantage. Right?
So you're alluding to what some members of the NDC said about suspected foul play.
Yes, it happens in politics, right? So I will not discount that fact. Yes. So if you are saying that, then of course you also must do your homework well, right? And not probably at a later time come back to say that we would have won the election, but for the sake of injustices or for the sake of probably rigging. Again, I also want to say that the security agencies should be at their very best, because in elections of this nature, anything at all can happen. All right. So once they have their eyes on the ground, once they have their ears on the ground, they shouldn't probably go to the extent of relaxing, But whatever information that they pick, they should be able to act on it so that we also see fair and decent, by-election as it did happen at Kumewu.
All right. So to cap off the conversation, gentlemen, I'm going to throw 2 questions at you for you to address them within some about 3.5, 4 minutes each, and then we shall cap off the conversation. The first is this. What would be your prediction? Who wins? James Gyakye Quayson or Charles Opoku? In other words, who would fare better, likely, based on the figures we have seen over the years? Which party has won? The last election, who won? By what number of votes? And the second question, what would be the cost of a loss and the benefit of a win? In other words, if a party loses, what would be the consequences for the NDC and the MPP? And if a party wins, what would be the benefit out of this crucial election? I'll start with you, Dr. Ichampo. Dr. Osai Kwapong, I beg your pardon.
All right. Who is going to win? I honestly don't know. I honestly can't predict.
Who do you think is armed better to win?
It's really difficult to say, right? Because I've been looking at the historical trends here, and it's always a very close election. I think the only poll that I've seen, I know Global Info Analytics has been doing a lot of work around polling lately. And I think it showed Mr. Charles Opoku up by about 1%, with almost 6-point-something% saying they were quote-unquote undecided, right? So if you go by that poll, that 1% lead, I can't even risk it and say he's likely to win, because if really you have 6% undecided, depending on how the undecided break, it's anybody's seat to win. So again, for me, truly and honestly, I really cannot predict exactly how this is going to turn out and who is going to win. In terms of the cost and the benefits of a win or a loss, I think from the NDC side, a win for them would be seen as a vindication that their message that, look, an injustice is being done to Mr. James Quayson, and therefore that injustice has to be corrected, triumphs at the end of the day, and that message really resonates with the people of Assin North, that they really saw it as something unfair being done to them, and they were not ready to stand for that unfairness, right? Another benefit for them is they still get to have an equal number of seats. So I think the MPP just edges them by 1. Or, we still come back to the parliament that we had at the beginning of 2021, post the 2020 election. So they still maintain their parliamentary strength, so to speak. A loss for them, for me, I'm not sure the extent. A loss for them may be also a little demoralizing, but I just don't know how long that demoralizing effect will linger.
Especially when some members of the NDC have said that this would be a sort of verdict referendum on the rule of the MPP. So if the NDC loses, what kind of referendum would that be then on them?
Precisely, right? So that, for me, that part of the narrative, should they lose this seat, is how do you deal with that narrative that this is supposed to be a referendum on the ruling party, and if really it's a referendum on the ruling party and they've been able to pick up the seat, does it mean that the ruling party is not as vulnerable as the rhetoric suggests, or as they perceive it, or as they know it, etc., etc.? So for me, that would be maybe one of the downsides to a loss for the party. I mean, they can always respond to that by saying all politics is local, it's Assin North, it's an extremely competitive place, we put our best foot forward, maybe, people were, people bought into the story that something untoward may happen to Mr. James Quayson, and therefore they decided, you know what, let's play it safe, let's move away from that candidate. So that's from the NDC side. From the MPP side, again, if they are able to edge out their NDC opponents, then at least they have that, I think, one or two seats buffer that they would now have in terms of parliamentary strength. If really this is a question of a referendum on the party's vulnerability and strength, I'm sure that if they win this seat, they will seize on it and use that in further campaigns to say, look, we are not as unpopular as some of you may think. We are not as vulnerable as some of you may think. If they lose, then the opposite becomes true, which is their opponents can seize on it and say, the referendum on your party has been really reflected in this competitive constituency in Assin. You are really vulnerable in Assin North. You are very vulnerable. The people have actually shown you that they are displeased with the way you're governing. The people have also shown that they stand against injustice, things like that. So I think it will be very interesting to watch both the outcomes and then how both parties end up spinning the outcome, whether they win or whether they lose.
Let me bring in Dr. Tutu Boahen. You have the final word on those two questions as well. Same to you.
Yeah. So for me, it's an issue of strategy. Since the data doesn't give a clear-cut, strength of one party over the other in Assin North. And as Dr. Assin rightly said, with regards to the data or the survey put up by Info Analytics, 1% lead isn't that strong, more especially when you have about 6-point-something percentage saying that they are undecided. And even prior to that, or after that survey came up, that was when the court proceedings also started. And so one may also want to think about sympathy votes. And if you pick information down from Assin North, of course, you are also tempted to believe that probably that 6% who are undecided, a percentage, may also swing. And if it happens that a greater percentage of the 6% swings, then of course it is going to be a deciding factor. And so that probably will be one of the things that can affect the fortunes of the two parties going forward. Again, strategy in the sense that when you look at the strategy that has been deployed by the MPP on the ground, it is not different from what they did in Kumawu, all right? And seeking that they are now looking out for people who registered or were voting at Assin North, probably might have traveled, and for financial issues are not likely to come back, and they are helping them to get back in there. Now, when that happens and they are able to implement that policy, that strategy very well, then of course, again, we are also likely to see some kind of an advantage, incumbency advantage over in there.
Right.
So what it means is that the NDC must up their game if they want to win this seat, apart from other structural strategies they will put in place. With regards to the second question,
the cost of a loss, the benefit of a win.
Obviously. It all boils down to you having a greater strength and again being vulnerable to the other political party in power. Obviously, we were expecting that the hung parliament would have helped, either of the parties, and for that matter, Ghana. But it didn't turn out to be a clear-cut, kind of strength especially on the side of the NDC. And so I was even expecting that probably the NDC, could have won these two by-elections so that it would give them some kind of added advantage. But the first didn't happen. And so they can't afford, to be losing this one too. And so I expect that they go in with all their strength. And as Dr. Saad said, if you put your best foot forward and you don't win, then obviously you even give hope to the base and to the party supporters. And so it shouldn't be something that they should give up, so that it softens, their strengths. On the side of the MPP, obviously when they win, politics is a game of numbers, right? And so when they win, and it means that they now have a clear-cut majority as it is in Parliament. And that can also help them in terms of their bargainings and all voting and that kind of stuff. So that is how it is. I think that it is a deciding factor. So the NDC shouldn't go into this fight, with a loss.
All right. Well, that has been our conversation this morning. We do gather that the Inspector General of Police has arrived in Assin North, and he will be interacting with representatives from the two political parties, the MPP and the NDC. Trust us, your election headquarters, to bring you every bit of the scoop all the way from now, headed into tomorrow, D-Day, Election Day, by-election day, I should say, all the way down to when the results are declared. But those who joined us for this conversation this morning, Dr. John Osai Kwapong, he is a CDD fellow. We also had joining the conversation Dr. Tutu Buahin. He is a political marketer, lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba. We had Mustafa Gbande, a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. We had Henry Nana Boache, National Organizer of the MPP. We also had my colleagues Richard Kwejunyako and Ohiming Teria joining the conversation on the ground. Thank you for watching. Do stay with us, because up next, it's a bit of a recap of what happened last Friday. The JoyNews Impact Makers Awards. We're going to be interacting with the lead on that, MFA Atiamwa Eli, and also, should time permit, some of those who actually made that shortlist. That conversation up next on the AM Show.